Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video on the channel where today we are starting with some of those tutorials as promised, and we are working on getting the counter formation videos done. So they'll be starting very soon. But today we have got the ultimate finishing tutorial guide. So we're going to be showing and going really in depth in a full-on finishing tutorial guide post patch. Obviously with every patch, shooting and passing and dribbling and everything changes, so I thought best thing to do is to try and review every aspect of FIFA post patch and really thoroughly test it and really give you guys some good tips on how to improve at the game. So we're starting off today with finishing, which is something that everyone seems to struggle at this year in FIFA. I can say for me personally, one thing that I'm always very good at is finishing. It for me is something that whether I'm playing someone bad or someone really good and I don't get a lot of chances, I always seem to score a lot of goals. I just seem to be very good at finishing, so I wanted to share some of the tips and go in depth in some situations and show you some examples of how I finish and how it's the best way to finish, and choosing as well, importantly, choosing what is the best finish for the scenario that you're in. I think a lot of people can finish well, but they struggle when they choosing what finish they should take and what scenario. And you get a lot of people that will ask, should I finesse, should I hit shots with power, should I chip, should I shoot near post, should I shoot far post? So all those questions are going to be answered in this tutorial guide, and we're going to go into a detailed example for like each one. So when we're going to be shooting near post, when we're going to be shooting far post, and so on and so forth. So we can see in this first example we've got coming up, this is the cutback, which is arguably the most effective way to score goals this year in FIFA. Now the cutback is something that a lot of people don't really utilize. Now in this scenario you can see on the ball we have got Socrates, and he is running away from goal. You can see that he's not even at the ball yet, and you can see that the goalkeeper marked in yellow is moving towards him. So by the time he gets to that ball, you can see in the right hand side I've got a little chart to show what each shot you could take for this scenario. You can see with that I've given it a percentage chance, roughly what I think the chance would be if you was to take those respective shots. Now shooting near post in this scenario is not going to happen. You're never going to score that near post, given where Socrates will be and where the goalkeeper will be, which is at the end of the yellow arrow, is kind of where I didn't anticipate he to be. Now given that, you know, you're never going to shoot near post, you could possibly shoot near post with power, as if he manages to turn, if my attacker Socrates manages to turn onto his right foot and smash that ball near post, there's a chance, a very slim chance, you could hit that in at the near post. Again, if he faces himself up, there's a chance that you could whip that in the far post. But the problem with trying to shoot from this position is that the gap between you and the goalkeeper is so small. It's probably only going to be 2 or 3 yards, so the chance that you're going to be able to hit that past him is very slim. Now as you can see in the bottom left hand, I've suggested that probably only 1 out of 10 people would actually see this cutback. Now you can see the space that we've marked and the player De Jong that is running into that space. Not many people in this situation would look for a cutback. Most people would probably do the option that we've highlighted, which is the far post power shot into that far corner. Most people would hit that on his left foot into the far post. Now for me, that's a very low percentage chance. I've given it maybe 50% chance that it was going to go in, because the chances are keeper's probably going to save it. And that's where I think a lot of people's frustration comes from, is they will then complain that their player's not very good, or the keeper's broken, or the game's just rubbish, when actually you have a much better chance to score with De Jong. And you can see when we do eventually run that ball on, De Jong manages to tap that in really simply. So going into a couple of examples of the cutback, and you can see the cutback is very effective. And the thing about finishing, you have to understand what's the best chance of me scoring. Now it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to look for certain shots all the time. You just need to be aware of different scenarios require different shots, and it's just one of those things that you're gonna get better at it through time. And where with finishing, it's all about getting into the positions. It's not necessarily about, you know, players necessarily or anything else. It's just about getting into that scenario more and more often, but being aware that there's more than one option all the time for your shots. You know, not every time you should just take the same shot. Some people will ask, should I just finesse more than anything? Well, it always depends on the situation. You have to play to the situation, not to the shot that you want to take. So given that, we're moving on into the far post and when we should take far post shots. Now again, you can see this position here with Neymar in this position, Neymar. Now sometimes it does depend on the person that you've got. Now given the fact that this is Neymar and he does have a 5-star weak foot, it does open up a lot more shooting possibilities. So as you can see, the shot that I've recommended is the far post power shot. Now hitting that just with his laces into the far post, you can see near post, there's no chance of us scoring from this angle because the angle is so tight. The goalie is always going to save it. So whether you try a finesse or a near post power shot, you're never ever going to score it. Now, given the fact that we could finesse this, now looking at the position of the defender that the guy has marked, if we try and cut in on our right foot, if we manage to cut in, we could finesse that into the far post, but chances are he's probably going to tackle us, and that means the attack is over. The far post power shot is the obvious shot to go for, but again, as you can see on the right hand side, the thing that probably a lot of people don't see, and in this occasion I didn't see even myself, was actually that we had another cutback on in the far post. You know, we could have cut it back to either Griezmann, who is stood there. I think that's Messi at the far back post. So either player there could have tapped that ball in, and that would have been a great goal. But on this occasion, given the fact that it was Neymar, I was pretty confident at shooting to that far post. And again, moving on to some examples with the far post. And like I said, it does depend on personnel to an extent. You have to understand what player you've got and then what suits that player. Now, given the fact that was Neymar, I felt very confident hitting that far post. Now, a more certain shot would have been obviously cutting the ball back, but it always depends on what person you've got. If that's a player, for example, that maybe only has a 3-star weak foot, because that is Neymar's weak foot technically, even though it's a 5-star weak foot. If that's a player that's only got a 3-star weak foot, chances are you probably shouldn't be shooting, because there's a very slim chance that you will score that. Now, you could score that shot still, but the more certain shot is definitely going to would have been the cutback in that scenario. And that's the thing with shooting, you always have to be aware of what is the best shot for my player. Now moving on into the near post, which for me, I was probably the shot that I probably would say I score more than any other in the game. I take a lot of near post shots, and I think that's just due to the fact it's just due to practice. It's not necessarily because near post is better than any others. I think for me, I'm just better at understanding when I need to shoot near post, probably more than the other two ways of shooting. Now, in this example, we can see we have got Griezmann is the player that we can shoot with. Now, the thing is, I've suggested that probably 7 out of 10 people would shoot far post. Now, we've highlighted a defender in the middle there. Now, if we shoot to that far post, which is where the average player would probably shoot to the far post, there's a very high chance that that player is going to block that shot. And given the scores on the right hand side, I've suggested that the power shot, which I've actually suggested is the least successful shot, because I'm pretty confident, having played this game. Again, the more you play this game, the more you understand how it works, and that defender will block that shot all day long. If that defender wasn't in the way, I would probably be suggesting to use the power shot, because we're shooting across goal on Griezmann's strong foot. And that's what I'm saying, you have to understand the player that you've got. But given the player that the player is in the way, the near post, in my opinion, is the only shot that is on. And I suggest that a lot of people, you know, good high caliber players would shoot near post here, because it's the right shot to take. Now, you could finesse. Finessing, I always find, is a little bit hit and miss, because sometimes you can finesse and get that whipped finesse, and sometimes you can finesse and it can be that really like dainty, weak finesse shot and the keeper saves it. So I always find the near post power shot in this position is the best shot to take. And you can see when we do run it on, we smash it near post and Griezmann does score it. So the thing about shooting is it's understanding scenarios and what's the best. There isn't necessarily the best way to shoot in terms of, you know, just finessing near post or just smashing it far post or low driven. There's not a best shot. You have to understand what shot is right for the player that you've got. You have to understand the personnel you've got, and that will dictate a lot of the time what shot you should be taking. If you've got somebody who's primarily strong-footed on the right hand side, typically you're going to think about shooting to the far post, about finessing it. So it all depends on the position of your player. You have to understand more than anything what position your player is in, and that will often dictate what shot you should take. But it's just about practice. Practice makes perfect. Getting into those scenarios more and more, and you'll become more and more comfortable with it. If you take some of these tips forward, going forward shooting, I'm confident you will score more goals. So if you did enjoy this tutorial, make sure you drop a thumbs up and let me know any other tutorials you would like to see. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well if you found this tutorial useful. But that is all for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. I'm out.